a lot of books in my span of 20 years, and I'm just going to share a few that I personally believe had the biggest impact on me, and I'm just going to give a brief description as to why I love the book. I'm also going to explain why it might be hard for you to finish books, and I'm going to share a couple of tips that work for me. Not all of my books are in the best condition, so just don't judge me, okay? The first book is The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. This is probably my most read book. I'm not going to give much description, but if you are a black person and you have not read this book, you need to get it together. There's no reason you can't get through this book. It's like 100 pages or something. Like, step it up, please. The next one is the autobiography of Malcolm X. As you can see, it has been through a lot. Don't judge me. Everybody knows about this book. Really, if you haven't read this book, please get your life right. A teacher of mine saw how run down this book was, and after I told him that I must have read it a million times, he recommended this book to me, which is Malcolm X: A Life of Reinvention by Manning Marble. This is what it looks like. This talks about his life from a completely different angle as far as like his assassination and the fact that the people who killed him are still out here today. It talks about things like sexuality, and basically if you just want to learn about a different side of Malcolm that isn't discussed in this book or Spike Lee's movie based on this book, I would definitely recommend this book. Now this is one of my favorite books ever. It's the biography of the lovely Miss Assata Shakur. That's not the name of the book. I don't know what it is about this woman, but I feel a crazy connection to her. Like, I probably sound like a lunatic, but this is my girl. Like, this is my girl. When reading books like this about women like this, you will remember the important role that black women play in the struggle of black people in America. Definitely was a page turner for me. I've read this maybe 3 times in my life, I think, and chances are I'll probably read it again. Not every single book that you read has to be by someone of the same cultural background or ethnicity as you for you to be able to find it relatable or for you to be able to gain something from it or whatever. This is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I'm hoping I said that correctly. The first time I heard about her story was when she guest appeared on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, which is one of my favorite shows, and literally the next day I went out and bought the book. Her story is so beyond amazing and inspiring, and it just proves that a leader can come at any single age. Like, I'm pretty sure she's younger than me, and I'm 20. And I think she's the youngest person to receive a Nobel Peace Prize, if I'm not mistaken. Someone fact check that for me. After reading this book, you will want to take advantage of any educational opportunity that may come to you, because she was shot by the Taliban and damn near died in her fight to pursue an education, not just for herself, but for other women. Like, she is the bomb dick. So like I said, not all of my books are in the best condition, so don't judge me. This is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I don't know what happened. I think it was in my swim bag and the top got wet and the cover just gave away. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is a pretty okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna show the back of the book. This is a pretty well-known book, but if you enjoyed this book, I would recommend reading Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. I love this book. These are both just like spiritual journey books, little pushes to help you pursue your life goals, stuff like that. No like historical context to these books or anything, but they're definitely good reads. I definitely enjoy reading both of these books. These, I think, go hand in hand. Forgive me, Paulo. The last book I'm gonna recommend is probably the most important book that you could read as a person of color in America, especially a black male. The New Jim Crow: Mass Incarceration in the Age of Color Blindness by Michelle Alexander. I have too much to say about this book. I read this back in like 2010, I think, One of my teachers from high school recommended this book to me, and I just finished rereading it a few days ago. I actually posted a picture on my Instagram and my Twitter. It's hard for me to really give a brief description of this book. This book will change the way you see criminals in this society. Not necessarily criminals charged with like murder or armed robbery or anything like that. She focuses specifically on the war on drugs and the unfair criminal label that's being put on these people who commit virtually harmless crimes, or maybe not necessarily harmless but non-violent crimes, as well as the ridiculous amount of prison time people face for small offenses, even first-time offenders. Like, it's just so beyond ridiculous, and this will really change your view of the criminal justice system. So of all of these books, I would recommend these two together. Like, try to read this one, then this one, or this one and then this one, because everything that Michelle Alexander talks about as far as how Black people basically are forced into the criminal justice system, Assata faced. Michelle makes the argument and Assata proves it. Assata talks about being pulled over for traffic violations as ways for cops to search their vehicle. Michelle talks about it as well. Assata talks about lies and tactics used by federal agents and the police, the lies that they use, falsified police reports, poor treatment inside and outside of the prison walls, the prison label, police brutality, all of that. She talks about her experiences as well as a few other experiences from other Black revolutionaries and members of the Black Panther Party, and boom, same thing right here. So I can't speak for anyone else, but I know for me personally, some of the reasons why I find it difficult to get through a book is because I'm either trying to force myself to read it or I'm just simply not ready for it. Yes, reading is good for you and it's a good tool, but don't force yourself. Reading should be enjoyable. Not liking a book is one thing, but if you have a book that you think is interesting but you're just finding it difficult to get through it, you just might not be ready for it mentally. And I'm not calling you stupid or anything, but you know, you don't go from learning addition straight into calculus. You know, you have to build yourself up to it. You have to build your vocabulary. You have to build your understanding of that topic. You have to build your understanding of certain rhetoric and certain terms that apply to whatever book you're reading and stuff like that. For example, this book, The Darker Nations, my sister bought this for me back around Christmas time, and this is how far I got, about 100 pages in, and it's right up my alley. It's about the political history of like the third world. I just found it difficult to like continue reading, and it's not that it was boring or it wasn't interesting. I was just having real trouble with it, so I decided to take a break from it, get through a couple of other books, and then I'm definitely going to come back to it because it's definitely a book I want to read. Don't force yourself to read it because it's going to be harder to like retain any of the information, and it just becomes less enjoyable. My next tip for getting through books is to use 2 bookmarks. It might sound kind of funny, but this really helps me. When you have a book with all these pages and all these chapters and all these words, getting through all of it can be a little intimidating and even discouraging. This is the book I'm currently reading, Black Power, The Politics of Liberation. I think somebody on Twitter recommended this to me. I don't remember who, sorry. I started this a couple days ago. I'm on page 62. There's my bookmark. I use $2 bills. Not because money is my motivation to read, just I have a lot of $2 bills. And my second one is at the next chapter. So you use one bookmark as a regular bookmark to show where you stopped and where to start again, and your second one should be a goal stopping point. So if reading gets a little overwhelming for you, start small. Put it maybe a chapter or 2 away, and each time you reach that second bookmark, you'll feel like a tiny bit of accomplishment, and it really does help because you're looking, oh, okay, I only have 3 pages as opposed to I have a whole entire book. I use this with every book I read, but you know, yeah, try that out. And another tip for you, use a dictionary. Every time I'm reading and I come across a word that I don't know, I just use the dictionary app on my phone and I just look it up. It takes like 2 seconds. Don't just keep skipping past words that you don't know because you're depriving yourself of an opportunity to build up your vocabulary. Seriously, it only takes 2 seconds. Pretty much every dictionary app is free, and you really have no reason not to. So that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully in a couple of months or so I can do another one of these because I bought a ton of books that I want to get through, and also I have a lot more books that I have read that I would love to recommend for you guys, but I don't want to kill you with an hour-long video about millions and millions of books. Don't want to overwhelm you guys. If you have any questions or comments about any of the books I mentioned here, feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Tumblr or whatever, and I will gladly have a nice little conversation with you about. Yeah. Thanks guys. Make sure you like and subscribe.